So hi guys, welcome back to this week's Footy Friday. This week we're just going to go through the weekend's games, just some of the highlights of the weekend's games, and then we're going to get into our Premier League, every Premier League team's player of the season, if that makes sense.
That was a tongue twister for you, wasn't
it? Yeah. But we're a little bit constrained with time because of work, because my work and that. So let's just jump straight into it. So the first game of the weekend was Chelsea versus West Brom. It didn't quite go the way we thought it was going to go.
No, what did we predict? Quite a comfortable win for Chelsea.
A lot of Chelsea. Well, we both predicted Chelsea wins.
Yeah, well, I mean, until a few minutes before half-time, it was kind of going the way we anticipated. I never anticipated Chelsea to score bags and bags of goals. So I could have predicted them maybe scoring 2 or 3, but West Brom, who have looked pretty poor all season, in recent weeks have been getting better. But yeah, no one could have predicted that. 3 goals just before the break of half-time and full-time. So, they capitalised on probably Chelsea sleeping a little bit.
Yeah, I think Thiago Silva's sending off helped West Brom a lot.
Definitely, when you think of their defence, and although Christensen's been pretty good, Thiago Silva is the heart of that defence. And when you take him out with the experience and vocality that he probably has in that team, I couldn't name someone else, And so he's pretty much the heart of that squad at the moment. And when you take him out, they're going to struggle. And it was just shocking that it was West Brom. They were lucky it wasn't a better opponent, because they could have severely got absolutely battered more than they did.
Yeah. And all credit to West Brom. They came with a game plan. It worked. I just don't think it'll still be enough anyway. I think they'll still end up going down, I think.
Yeah, I think it's between Fulham and Newcastle. And I think out of those two, I think Newcastle will get relegated.
Moving on to another game on Saturday, Leicester versus Man City.
Yeah, I think did we predict that?
Yeah, we both said.
I think City to win.
Yeah, I think we both said. Actually, I think we both said 2-0.
Oh, decent.
Leicester did what Leicester would do and sit back, but it's a completely different City team than it was when they first beat them.
Yeah, I think if you do anything against City, it's not to sit back. You can see that in the shots, 5-11, with City having the 11 shots. Yeah, you don't sit back with a team. If you're going to try and go out and try and do something against City, you do anything but defend and just sit back, because they will just break you down and attack you.
Yeah, it was a complete City. It was a City performance at the end of the day. They just they played exactly how they would do.
Yeah.
Beat possession and like you said, shots in general. So it was a pretty good game. Moving on to the last game on the Saturday, Arsenal versus Liverpool. Liverpool winning 3-0.
Yeah, this didn't go the way I predicted. I remember I predicted an Arsenal win. I thought, with the front three, maybe not Lacazette, but Aubameyang, Pepe, Ødegaard, what's his name, Partey. I thought they'd be able to do something against the struggling Liverpool. And it was only the last sort of half an hour that, Diogo Jota came on and showed his influence. He's been very helpful at the start of the season before his injury, and now he's come back into the squad and he looks like a brilliant player. Firmino hasn't done it as much this season, and Diogo Jota looks like he could be the replacement for him. He's bagged loads of goals this season, been injured, come back and does it again. Arsenal just looked poor and Liverpool just capitalised on Arsenal sloppiness.
Yeah, I've seen that quite a lot. For some reason, under Arteta, they just seem a bit sloppy when they're playing out from the back.
Yeah, they've always been like that though. They were like that under Unai Emery. They just looked really sloppy and poor. And technically, the defence. I heard I don't know whether it was Gary Neville or a commentator commentating on that game saying that In the old days, Thierry Henry, Bergkamp, Pires could push forward with no worries about coming back and helping the defence because the back six was so solid. Now Aubameyang, Pepe, Ødegaard have to come back and help the defence because they're so weak.
Yeah, well, if you look at, it's a massive difference compared to
I
that
know.
invincible squad and thingy, But Arsenal, the team like Arsenal, I know they haven't really performed to what they would do over the past few years. You would still think that they've been able to attract those type of big players so that they didn't have to.
They can going forward. Ødegaard is, at one time, was the most, I think, probably in the future will be again, but was at one point the most sought-after midfielder in the world. Aubameyang was a world-class striker. Lacazette, at one point when he was at Lyon, was sought after by loads of teams. Pepe was sought after by loads of teams. Partey was wanted by Man United. I'm sure, probably linked to bigger clubs as well.
Yeah,
it's odd that they can't attract better defenders. When you think of their defence, they've got David Luiz, they've got Pablo Mari, they've got Gabriel, Rob Holding, Callum Chambers, and you think, how are they still using them players?
Well, yeah, because you would think that they could have they could get someone like Kimpembe, they could someone who's played. Yeah, but Kimpembe is relatively young, and he's still quite a solid defender.
He's too good for that Arsenal team. PSG is probably his level. If he was to come to the Premier League, you'd be looking at someone like Chelsea, probably Chelsea. I think Chelsea probably is about his level.
Someone who's regularly in the top four at the moment.
Yeah, I think Arsenal do have to look for the cheaper options and players lower down, but they go to some obscure places. Like they got Gabriel from Lille, I think, wasn't it? And they got Pablo Mari from Flamengo. And you just think you can't trust a Brazilian league. There's some leagues you just can't trust, and it seems like Arsenal either pick from obscure leagues or pick players that are past their best, and mixing them together just it doesn't match.
Yeah, and moving on to the other team in North London, on Sunday, Newcastle versus Tottenham, getting a draw, 2-2. In reality, it should have been more than that. Tottenham should have won that game.
Yeah, it was the Arsenal boy coming back to score the equaliser 5 minutes before the death, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Joe Willock. Again, it doesn't really surprise me. I mean, it surprises me from the Newcastle perspective that they're able to score 2 goals, but it doesn't surprise me from the fact that Tottenham can blow, well, I say blow a 2-0 lead, they were 1-0 down, but can come back and then still fail. Newcastle had twice the amount of shots they had. And, based off the stats, they played pretty well. They had a lot of shots, didn't take many chances, but they come away with a satisfying point. And in terms of a relegation battle, that's huge. In terms of Tottenham, I mean, again, they're so horrible to watch. Whenever I go to my dad's to watch football, Tottenham just isn't a team I want to watch. Last season, I never wanted to watch Liverpool because they'd always win. Now I just can't be asked to watch Tottenham. I barely want to watch Arsenal because they're so boring to watch. I'd rather watch teams like Brighton, Southampton, Leicester. I know they're higher up, but they're much more enjoyable to watch. Tottenham have no spark at the minute, and that defence is awful. The midfield is pretty solid, and the attack is one of the best in the league. I think they're relying too much on their attacking. Two goals for Harry Kane in this game should have been enough to deal with Newcastle. But because of their defence being shaky, they're relying on old players. They got rid of Vertonghen, but they still got Alderweireld. They've got a shaky Sanchez, and they've got that other player they signed from a championship team.
Rondon.
Yeah, it doesn't work. Both North London clubs are struggling at the minute, and they need to rectify it. And I don't know whether that's, getting rid of Mourinho or, because, I don't know what it is. Go on, you can carry on, sorry.
Well, speaking about Mourinho, did you hear what he said afterwards?
It's not a satisfying point or something?
No, when he got asked about, he said, one reporter, I think it was 5 Live, said that your teams have always been able to see out games and see out results, and then he first thing he said was, same coach, different players, which is basically saying my players aren't good enough for me.
Yeah.
Which,
but the point of a coach isn't to That doesn't make any sense, because if you were the same coach, you'd be able to change that. That doesn't make any sense. It's rubbish. Because if he was the same coach, he'd be winning stuff. He wouldn't have to manage teams like Tottenham. He'd be at Barcelona. He'd be at Real Madrid. It doesn't make sense. The reason he's at Tottenham is because he isn't the same manager anymore.
Now, the question that I think I saw on that Athletic, I might be wrong with this, is Mourinho done? Is he done in the modern game?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
he was done when he left Chelsea the second time. When he came to Man United, they should have never, despite the first season, Man United should never ever be in the Europa League. Every season they should be in the Champions League. Yes, we won it. Yes, I think we won the League Cup that year, or the FA, I can't remember, and the Community Shield, but that's whatever. That's pointless. He is done. You can't. Who wants to sign him now? Where would he go?
Yeah,
he's not going to a top team in England. He's not going. The only team I could maybe seeing him go to Portugal, maybe, or like Eredivisie or something. But no one in the Premier League wants to touch him.
Yeah, no, not after Tottenham.
Like even struggling teams like Fulham have got Scott Parker. He's about half Mourinho's age, and he looks really, really promising. I know. There's other teams like Newcastle that are struggling, but why would he go to somewhere like that? Because we saw what happened with Rafa Benitez.
He would,
and
if
he's going to demand money like he has at every club, and we saw at Man United they didn't give him money, and Newcastle's no better. Newcastle's the worst place to go if you're a manager and want to spend money.
Yeah,
he's got to try and get this Tottenham team turned around, and then leave or retire or go to some other league where he can go to a good team in a foreign league, because there's no point hanging around waiting for that top team to come for him, because it's not going to happen unless he can, over the next year or two, win something with Tottenham, which at the moment doesn't seem very likely if Harry Kane leaves, because if he does, there's no chance.
Yeah. Moving on to the next game, United versus Brighton. 2-1 to United.
Yeah.
Having to rely on Mason Greenwood to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
I was a bit unsure why Henderson was starting in that.
I think Solskjaer said that Henderson will be starting the rest of the Premier League games this season.
All right.
So I think I'm not sure whether that's due to obviously De Gea having his baby and putting the faith in Henderson and just letting De Gea sort of leave the rest of the season to be with his wife and his kid, or whether it's to maybe next season give him a bit of experience at the end of this season to push on for next year. I hope that is the case, because I want Dean Henderson to be the keeper in the future.
Yeah, there's not much really else to say about it. It was a relatively good performance. When I say good performance, it was an average performance.
Yeah, it was a job done sort of performance.
Yeah.
It was good that Greenwood scored. All 3 goals were Man United graduates, so it's always a good thing.
But I'll tell you what, Danny Welbeck over the past few weeks has looked good. Has looked much better. He looks like he's picked up a little bit.
Yeah, but it's too late now. Like, how old was he? 30, 31, 29, something like that.
Yeah,
I don't think he ever showed potential of being world class. When he was at United, I think he broke into the team when he was 17 and scored a goal against Stoke from about 35 yards. And even at United, he went out on loan to Sunderland, I think, and he scored a few goals for them that season. Came back to United and was a squad player more than anything. And as older players like Berbatov and Tevez started to leave, he started to get fizzled into the team. And then I think after Fergie left, he was surplus to requirements. But he was always handy for United. I mean, he was always handy for England as well. He went to Arsenal, was handy for them. Went to Watford, didn't do a great deal.
Yeah.
But now he's probably Watford. He did the least, and now he's at Brighton, and he scored how many goals this season? 4, 5, maybe.
Yeah.
Crucial goals to a team that I mean, they're safe from relegation, but without them goals, you never know what could have happened.
Well, yeah, because right now they're hovering. Where are they now? Let's have a look. They're hovering
I think they're pretty
above them.
safe, aren't they?
Well, the
Oh, no.
16th. There's
6 points
yeah,
apart from Fulham. I mean, I'd say they're pretty safe.
yeah. But
because not from Fulham, but I think they're pretty safe from Newcastle, because Newcastle, I think, will struggle to get many points.
yeah. And then moving on to Monday's game, West Ham versus Wolves. West Ham winning 3-2. It was a very good performance, but a very good performance by West Ham.
Yeah,
it's one that we've come to see from them.
Yeah, it's not overly surprising result, to be honest. West Ham at the moment are probably the stronger side. Wolves have severely, selling Jota last season, and then having Raul Jimenez being injured for a long period of the season hasn't helped, and having to rely on Willian Jose and Fabio Silva, it's not been great. And as well with Adama Traore last season, showing form. At one point, Liverpool wanted him. He was worth 40, 50 million. Now, who wants him? He hasn't got a goal or assist all season. He comes off the bench for 20 minutes, half an hour a game. He looks leggy. He's fast, but that's about all he's got. When you look at West Ham, they're going in the complete opposite direction. Whereas last season they were struggling. This season they're unbelievable. Even before they had Jesse Lingard, you were looking at Souček,
Owen,
Craig Dawson,
Fornals.
Fornals, Lanzini with the goal. I know that's what he's going to be remembered for this season.
Yeah.
And now, Declan Rice, West Ham now is probably Jesse Lingard. Jesse Lingard is West Ham at the minute.
Yeah, he's 100%. Right now, he's 100% Mr. West Ham. Obviously,
exactly.
you have Mr. Mark Noble, but out of everyone who is at that West Ham team, the one who I can look at and think he's changed the West Ham team, it is Jesse Lingard. Because he had a goal and assist within the first 20 minutes or something, wasn't it, for West Ham in that game. He's been he was always a good player. Like you said in previous episodes, he was always a good player. It's just he needed time, and with that, and at West Ham he's getting the game time.
I was watching an interview with Ravel Morrison earlier, and I know it's weird, but it's sort of what could have been. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. With Ravel Morrison at Manchester United, obviously he didn't play for Man United as long or have as many games as Lingard did. And he was at West Ham, and for the 18, because I was looking up earlier, he only played 18 games for West Ham, and I think he scored 2 or 3 goals. But he had that solo run against Tottenham, and Lingard. I think Ravel Morrison could have been doing what Lingard's doing now if he'd have stayed there. I mean, it just shows how much of a positive team West Ham can be, and not necessarily a transitional team, but the days, it used to be sort of Newcastle, like a transitional team, maybe Everton. But I think West Ham now are probably a transitional team, because I wouldn't be surprised if Lingard, if he didn't stay at West Ham, he probably goes to he probably doesn't stay at United. He probably does sell to someone. And the same with maybe Kufal, the same with Souček, Declan Rice, Ben Rama maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, they need to. The issue now is for West Ham is to be able to keep hold of everyone.
That's my point. It's going to be very difficult. It's all right. It's all right having a good season, but next season being able to replicate that and having to keep the same players, because the owners will love to sell all these players and have all these players in good form, but then who do they replace them with? They don't have the replacements.
Yeah, no.
And it's going to be very difficult to sell, say, Souček, Kufal, Declan Rice, and Ben Rama, who are 4 of your most influential players. Take them out. Who have you got? Fredericks, Mark Noble, Pablo Fornals, and I don't even know. Kiyate? Oh no, he's at Palace.
Yeah, see, that's me.
I don't know. Someone else.
So that, they need to keep all of them as much as possible until
Yeah,
they
they
can
could
find
maybe afford to
replacements.
get rid of. They could maybe afford to get rid of someone like Kufal, maybe.
Yeah, and try and get.
But then you've got Ryan Fredericks. You've got to try and replace him. Maybe someone like Carl Walker-Peters. I reckon
Well,
he would fit that system maybe quite well.
unless they've they bring people through the academy, because I don't know what their
Yeah, I don't
academy's
know what
like.
their setup is. No, I don't understand. I don't know what their setup's like.
So they might do that instead. It wouldn't surprise me if if we did see, even from all teams, not just West Ham, if we do within these games that are coming up now, where there's not many games left. Some of them don't really mean much. There's the teams like Arsenal, Leeds, Palace, Southampton, Villa, Everton. Just a few in the mid-table region. That aren't necessarily. They're not a million miles off from from top 4, top 5, but they're relatively safe from the bottom. They can start to experiment now.
Yeah, exactly.
And it wouldn't surprise me if we do start seeing some academy graduates floating here around here and there.
Yeah.
So it was. I think overall West Ham have got like we said, West Ham have been the surprise package of the season, because we would have all pegged them to have a relegation battle, but Javid Moyes has I think this is going to be his. If everything stays the way it is, I think this is going to be his joint best finish, or even his best finish in the Premier League.
I think he got Everton to 4th before.
Yeah, I was thinking that myself. So yeah, this would be his joint / best finish in a while.
Definitely.
But we'll see. We'll just see how the end of the season. There's only how many games are there left?
8.
8 games left. Yeah.
7, 8.
Yeah, I think there's 8 games left. Yeah, eight games left. So we'll see what we get to. Right, so let's talk about each player. Who's the best player at each Premier League club? What we'll do is we'll work from the bottom all the way to the top.
Yep.
So, start with the bottom club, Sheffield United. I'm going to say Billy Sharp.
Ooh. What's that based on? The couple of goals that he scored for them?
I just think he gives his, because he's the captain when he comes on. I think so. He's the leadership from him being at the club as well for quite a while. He's pretty much Mr. Sheffield United, and has scored. Not I don't know whether you class them as vital goals, but he scored quite. Yeah, well, they are vital in some ways. Vital goals for him at times.
Right. Okay.
So who would you have said?
Well, I thought there was only one obvious standout, and I think it's David McGoldrick.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the stats now, and I know it's not impressive, but he's their top goal scorer with 6 goals this season, and Billy Sharp is their second top goal scorer with 3. I think you could also say that Jayden Bogle has also been maybe more of a standout player this season. Players that shined perhaps last season, like Oliver McBurney has struggled. Lundstrom, some of the defenders as well, like Stevens, who plays left wing back, has also struggled, and John Fleck. But I think whenever I watch Sheffield United, the only player that I tend to notice is David McGoldrick. He's the only, in terms of going forward, he's one of the only people I really notice. And when you're struggling down at the bottom, you're never going to look to the defence as being one of your better players.
Yeah, I agree with you. So, yeah, I could see David McGoldrick. So that's who we'll say then.
I won't. Obviously, I was going off the bottom teams. I'll be going off more because of more attacking, because defensively they've not been very good.
Yeah. Next up, West Brom.
I think this is less. Well, in my opinion, it's less obvious. I perhaps. Oh, I don't know. I think it's probably going to have to be Sam Johnson.
I was going to say that either him or what's he called? What's he called?
Pereira.
Pereira or I know you said about attack defense, but
Well, yeah, me saying Sam Johnson just goes straight out the window by saying that.
Semi Ajayi.
I think he's looked poor this season, like in specific games. Whereas I think Sam Johnson, he's had a very standout campaign. You know, he's been there for a few years. He's even forced himself into the England team, and I think that just shows the level that he's now playing at. I think it very much replicates what Jack Butland was doing at Stoke when he was the standout player at that team that were really struggling. And I think if West Brom go back down, I could definitely see Sam Johnson moving to a bigger club.
Yeah, I could see. To be honest, I could see
maybe not a massive club, but maybe somewhere like a Wolves.
Yeah,
because Rui Patricio's had that injury. John Ruddy is getting older. You know.
Yeah,
maybe Burnley,
Southampton.
Yeah, because Alex McCarthy is getting a little bit older. Yeah, that's true. I was going to say Brighton, but obviously they've got Sanchez now, so they don't really need him.
No, but they do need a backup keeper because, I don't know what
Sam Johnson's too good to be a backup.
Yeah, he's too good. Yeah, and I the only other place I could really see it would be
maybe Palace.
See, they've got Guaita and Hennessy, and Butland.
But they're both over 30. All of them are over 30.
Mm.
How old is Sam Johnson? Wait,
I think he's 28.
Okay, yeah, that's not the best then, is it? Yeah, 28. So he's probably got a good 3 or 4 years on every Palace goalkeeper. I know they've got a few keepers, but they're not necessarily anything special other than maybe Guaita. Maybe Wolves is the likely destination for him then, because if Patricio's out injured, he's already 33, 34.
Yeah.
John Ruddy's 32 probably. Give it 1 more year. Say if next season he plays as the backup, he could be Wolves' number 1 for like 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll agree with you on Sam Johnson on that one then. Fulham.
Right. I've got a couple, but I think it's less obvious, unlike the Sheffield one. But again, I'm going to have to go for the goalkeeper.
Areola, yeah.
I have to go for Areola. He's been one of the standout players of that team. And although the midfield, I think all round have been fairly solid, sort of the last few months. But I know you look at Ademola Lookman, you look at Bobby De Cordova-Reid, Ivan Cavallero. Who have they got in defence?
Madger. You got Madger up front as well, but he's only just come in.
Oh, the Leon centre-back that they got on loan. What's his name? I think he's been solid this season. Anderson. I think he's been very good. I think it would be between him and Areola, but because Areola came to my mind first, I'll say Areola just because, like Sam Johnson, they have been struggling, but he's shown why he was a Real Madrid player, why he was a PSG player. Again, if they go down, he will go to a bigger club. I don't necessarily think he'll stay in the Premier League, but I could definitely see him going to, a higher league. Where is he now? He's only on loan, isn't he?
Yeah, on loan for PSG.
Yeah, so I think PSG have got Navas. Depending on what Navas is doing in the future, I think Areola definitely could step up and be the first team keeper. If not, I could definitely see him staying in France, but maybe playing for a lesser team.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Someone like a Leon, for example.
Someone who's pushing top 4, but not quite there.
Well, you need to look at like you said with Sam Johnson, you need to look at teams that have got necessarily aging keepers, like Leon, for example, with Lopez.
Yeah.
Is Marseille Mandanda?
Yep.
That's he's another one. I know Marseille haven't really been. They've not been doing bad in the league, but no. They could be doing so much better.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So you need to look. That's another one. You need to look at, players that teams that have got aging keepers.
Mm-hmm.
Because, how old is he? He's 28. Oh, he's 28.
Wait, who?
Ariola.
Yeah, that's still a long time for a keeper. You see
Yeah.
Buffon, and he's still a registered player at Juventus,
43.
and he's like 40. Yeah, I was going to say 41, but yeah, 43. So by that knowledge, he's got 15 years left.
Yeah.
So obviously he probably won't play that long, but he could still have a good 8-9 years left.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree with you, Ariola. He's pulled out some good saves. I think what was the game? Oh, I can't even remember now. It was against one of the top ones. I can't remember who it was. But
One of the top ones.
Well, yeah, the ones that are fighting for the title.
Yeah, I know.
But he made so many great saves.
Mm-hmm.
And it was he kept him in the game. So yeah, I'll completely 100% agree with you. Newcastle.
Again, like the Sheffield one, I'll let you say it, and if you don't pick the player I'm thinking of, I don't know what's wrong with you. So,
Callum Wilson.
Yeah, that is the obvious shout. I thought potentially Lascelles.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't really think of anyone else. When you think of the attack, when you think of the midfield, every midfielder in that is dead. It's awful. I can't think of a good midfielder. Willock has come in recently and scored 2 goals, but he's been there, 2 months, 3 months? He's not been there very long.
Yeah, he's not put his stamp on the team yet.
4, 5, 6 years. Definitely not. I think he definitely could be a player moving forward. But when you've got Callum Wilson out injured, who do you have going forward? They're lucky to scrape goals.
Well, yeah, you saw against Tottenham. I know Tottenham weren't. They weren't, and on the weekend they weren't playing very. The Tottenham didn't play like a Tottenham side. They would have killed the game off any other time. But when I don't mean this awfully to him, but when you're relying on Joelinton to score your goals, Joelinton and Dwight Gale to score your goals, it's just not.
I know.
Joelinton went the season before he signed for Newcastle. He looked good, but I just don't think the style of football that Newcastle play complements Joelinton at all.
No, not at all. Hence why he's been playing that position a lot.
Yeah. Callum Wilson. Yeah. We're going back to Callum Wilson. Callum Wilson's the top goal scorer with 10 goals and 5 assists.
And he's been injured for what? 2 months? 3 months?
Yeah, pretty much.
He's been injured for the last 10, 12, 14 Premier League games?
Well, yeah, he last played 6th of February.
Oh, maybe not that long ago then.
Yeah, it's still quite long though, that.
Yeah, 2 months is 5, 6 Premier League games?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realise he'd come back. Yeah, he's been out for that long and you'd still say he's their best player this season.
Yeah. So, yeah, Callum Wilson. Brighton.
Like with this one, I think we're sort of sport for choice in this position. I think I'd say my top 3 are probably, I don't know, because I'm trying to pick between the defenders, because the defenders this season have actually been half decent.
Well, Ben White, I think.
Yeah, he was in my top selection.
Ben White or Lewis Dunk, one of the two.
Both of them were.
Basuma.
Yeah, I forgot about him.
And Trossard.
Wow. Okay. So my top 4 were, top 3 was between White and Dunk, and then Robert Sanchez and Tariq Lamptey.
See, I would have said Lamptey, but he's been injured for quite a while.
But I still think he's had from being virtually nobody to coming up into this team, being it not being in the England team, but even being in the debate for being in the England team, when the right back position for England is their strongest position.
Yeah.
He was a virtual nobody, and that's the same with Robert Sanchez. He was a virtual nobody he's gone a step even further than Tariq Lamptey, and he's gone from being the reserve keeper last season, Matty Ryan being pushed out, him taking the spot, and then being called up for Spain.
He wasn't even the reserve keeper last season.
Well, yeah, he wasn't there last season. I remember.
Yeah,
and where was he at?
Rochdale.
Yeah.
That's a big jump from League One to the Premier League.
To a really struggling League One side.
Well, I don't mean that. Yeah, it is because I think, to be honest with you, without him, with some of the saves he made, I think Rochdale would have gone down. When I was at the United game, when they played United in the League Cup, he made a quite a few good saves to keep Rochdale in the game.
Yeah,
and I completely understand why he's now in the Spain team.
Well, yeah, he's because I mean it's fortunate for him that there aren't many top class Spanish keepers at the moment, and it's unfortunate for Lamptey that England's sport for choice for right back.
Yeah,
but I would say I'll probably give it to Robert Sanchez just because of the rise he's had in such a short amount of time. But I agree with you. Trossard recently has looked over the season has been fairly consistent. You said Basuma as well. Yeah, I haven't noticed Basuma as much, but he has been linked with the move to Arsenal. The defence again, Ben White, Lewis Dunk have looked quality. Ben White is probably leaving at the end of the season. Joel Veltman's played quite consistently.
Yeah,
I think that when they signed him, I thought that was quite a good signing because he's had a lot of experience all over.
Yeah.
Joel
Veltman's a very typical. Like when we said, I can't remember who we were talking about a couple of weeks ago, and we said that you need someone who's a veteran centre back, to pair with a younger centre back, and that's exactly what they've done. Because they've got Joel Veltman, who's he
plays at right back,
but he's even still with he's been at Ajax for 8 years.
Yes.
And then with Ben White coming into the team, who's 20, 23, he's still got plenty of time still got plenty of time to adjust.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there's even Hayden Roberts, who's on loan at Rochdale. He's tipped to be quite big.
Right.
Within Brighton.
Mm-hmm.
So, we could see some new defenders come through the Brighton ranks.
Possibly, especially if Ben White goes, they'll probably need another one to come through.
Yeah. Moving on to Burnley. One man, Nick Pope.
I agree. He is probably one of the top ones, but I would maybe throw in a couple of others. I was thinking I've got a bit of a rogue shout, but I think my second and third probably choices are probably Chris Wood and Dwight McNeil.
Yeah, I could see Dwight McNeil, yeah.
I think Chris Wood this season has scored probably more goals than a lot of people thought. I think, how many has he scored? Maybe 7, 8, maybe?
7.
7, yeah. I mean, I know that sounds stupid for saying a striker, but, you don't expect him to score many.
Well, no, but Burnley don't tend to score many goals anyway.
Exactly. And then I think my bit of a rogue shout is probably Josh Brownhill.
I wouldn't say it's a rogue shout, because I would say, on the...
It's not an expected shout then, maybe. Maybe you're instantly drawn to players like McNeil and Pope.
Yeah. Well, especially recently, within this last season, he's not been, the focus and things like that of Burnley, but he's picked up quite a few good performances. I'm seeing it against Southampton. He was rated 7.2, even though they lost. Everton, when he was rated 7.5, 7.5. Yep. Against West Brom, when they drew 0-0 in February, 7.2. He's getting mid to high 6s, and even and then in high 7s.
Well, yeah, exactly.
And yeah,
I think he's a quality player. If it's a shame he's not quite as young as he could have. Like, if he was a little bit younger, you'd say he's a a prospering talent. But at the age of 25, it's a shame he's only really just been put into the team.
Yeah. So who were we saying? You saying Brownhill?
Who was my other one? I'll say, because you said Pope, I'll say McNeil, because I think McNeil's had a better season than Brownhill.
Okay. So you heard that. Nick Pope and Dwight McNeil.
Yeah.
Brownhill.
Well, I said McNeil, but okay.
Nick Pope and McNeil. Wolves.
I think, again, there's probably only one maybe two, but I'll say Pedro Neto.
I was going to say Pedro Neto. Either him or Pedence.
I was going to say either him or Roman Saiz.
Yeah.
At the start of the season, Saiz was scoring he was sort of what Souček was doing at West Ham, scoring from set pieces. I also think Nelson Semedo has had quite an underrated season.
Yeah.
I think Nelson Semedo, when he first came in, he looked a bit unsure of himself, obviously adapting to the Premier League. But I think now he seems to be a quality right back, raw right wing back, and going up and down the field, he seems to know what he's doing.
Yeah, but for me, I think Pedro Neto gets that.
I think Pedro Neto is the obvious choice.
I know with Jimenez being out, it's a massive blow, but Pedro Neto has he's not exactly stepped straight into his shoes, but he's provided another option.
I think Pedro Neto has stepped into the shoes of Diogo Jota.
Yes.
Because Diogo Jota wasn't necessarily a striker, but he was a centre forward and a winger at the same time, and that's exactly what Pedro Neto can do. Yeah. He's definitely, when Jota was there, he was carrying the team a little bit towards the end of that season they had when they were finishing top 5 or 6 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I think Pedro Neto, although they're struggling at the minute, Pedro Neto is trying to do that.
Yeah, a lot more than, for example, Willian Jose, for example.
Well, I don't think Willian Jose has the ability to do it.
No, I don't either. So we're agreed, Pedro Neto for
you like the size of my bottle of Pepsi as well? It's almost the size of my head.
Almost. Head's much bigger.
It's all them brains.
Southampton.
They say that people in the north have smaller heads.
Right.
Because of the little brains.
Southampton.
I like it, just ignore it. Again, it's obvious, isn't it?
I guess so.
Do you disagree?
No.
Okay.
No. There's.
I mean, you could put in a case for other players. I mean, it is Danny Ings, isn't it? There's a reason why. Apparently, I didn't even know this till today, that City are interested in him.
I mean, he's 28. He gets goals here and there.
Yeah, I think they're doing it as sort of a short-term replacement for
Aguero.
Well, not even short-term, because Aguero's, 33?
Yeah.
So, I mean, for the next 5 seasons, even if he carried on that, 10 goals a season, 50 goals over the next 5 years is quality.
Yeah.
But I think I was quick to
already.
Well, yeah, exactly. I was quick to say Danny Ings because there is definitely other players. There's, Kyle Walker-Peters. All right. Ward-Prowse. Kyle Walker-Peters as well.
Just to name a few, Vestergaard. I
was about to say Scott Armstrong. Stuart Armstrong, I think, again, like Josh Brownhill, has had a very underrated season. I think people overlook him because of Danny Ings' goal contribution and James Ward-Prowse sort of ability on set pieces and things like that. But I think Stuart Armstrong has been very solid. When Danny Ings was injured, he was the one kind of carrying the team.
Yeah. It's a tough one because it's like, there are quite a few players that have not necessarily gone under the radar because, they are playing well, but then just not in the spotlight because because of, there's got plenty, when you've got the likes of Ward-Prowse, Ings, Shea Adams stealing the spotlight from them, they do still have good games.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I do. I know what you mean, but for me, I think it's got to be Danny Ings.
Yeah, agreed.
I didn't know this either. I've just had a look now. Shay Adams is Scottish.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Who do you think he played for?
England.
All right. Not quite.
He's only played 3 games for Scotland.
Yeah, I think he only changed his allegiance recently, didn't he?
Yeah, March 2021.
It's the same with Ravel Morrison.
Yeah, no,
Jamaican.
Yeah. Next up, Crystal Palace.
I'm struggling with this one. Ooh. Yeah.
Either him or Gary or Cahill.
That was my shout. I was thinking Gary Cahill. I think if Eze or Eze or whatever you pronounce it, Eze, did it more consistently, you'd say him because he does look like a talent. But I think it is probably between Guaita and Cahill. I'll go Cahill because you went Guaita, just be a bit different. I was thinking Cahill anyway. I think at the start of the season, was it this season or last season where Are You was pretty impressive?
I think it was the start of this one.
I was going to say if we did this 5 months ago, we might be looking at Jordan. Not 5 months ago, 4 months ago, we might be looking at Jordan Ayew. But I think Gary Cahill, despite he could look at that Chelsea defence, he could still play in that Chelsea defence.
Oh yeah, he could partner.
They could have never gotten rid of him because they haven't really filled the void. They don't play Kurt Zuma consistently and they don't play Christensen consistently.
Well, they don't. Well, guess they don't play. He does play. He plays Apple's but for me, at the age he is, he's not a right back.
Mm-hmm.
I know that
should be getting pushed further in and putting Reece James on that.
Yeah, I know he's changed a bit more the formation at times to be a 3 at the back, but he's still not having. It's like Thiago Silva and then either Christensen and Rudiger, or it's Thiago Silva and Rudiger as a 4, and then then it's like as I said, I know Apple's he's still probably got legs, but he needs to be moved into the centre back. Really,
100%.
But for Palace, I'm going to say Guaita. And you're saying Cahill.
Yeah.
Leeds.
Mm-hmm.
There's 2 people I'm going to throw. I think Rafinha or Bamford.
Yeah. I wouldn't say Rafinha. My 2 were probably Patrick Bamford and Meslier.
Yeah.
I don't, not to discourage Rafinha because he is very good and but he's more of a flair player, I think, in terms of the team. I think going directly to what they do on the pitch and how they affect the game. I think Bamford and Meslier are probably at each end the most important players on the pitch. Meslier is, again, before this season, I'd never heard of him. I hadn't heard of half of Leeds' team, but he's only 20 as well, and he looks really, really good. Just coming into the Premier League, and he already knows what he's doing. He looks strong, he looks confident, he's a good build, quick, good shot stopper. And it's almost the reverse with Patrick Bamford. He's had loan spells before at Middlesbrough, he's been at Chelsea, and it's just not quite worked out for him. And now this Leeds run is working out for him. He scored, 12, 13 goals, 14 goals this season?
More than that. He scored 14.
14. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it looks like it's finally working for him. A little bit too late, unfortunately, because he's now, 26, 7?
27. Yeah.
27.
Yeah,
so,
and unfortunately for him, he's the same age as he's rough. I think he's 1 year younger than Harry Kane, who right now you can't take him out. You're not going to take Harry Kane out of the England squad.
And there's no way for Patrick Bamford.
No.
There's several players above Patrick Bamford that you put in.
Yeah. Yeah. The only one I would also say would be Stuart Dallas. He's been solid, when he needs to be.
Yeah.
And he's played quite a few places. He's been moved around all over the pitch. Considering he's a left back.
Yeah, true. But I don't know. I think there's many players above him in that team. He's a good squad player and he's a good versatile player. But at this current season, there's a good 4 or 5 players above him.
But yeah, for me,
I was going to say an underrated does that Struick, whatever you pronounce it, Pascal Struick.
Yeah.
I think he's been quite a good solid centre back this season.
Yeah, I do too. But I think mine is going to be Patrick Bamford.
Same as mine.
Moving to Arsenal. I'm going to say one name and one name only, Bukayo Saka.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really see anyone else that
either him or Tierney when he plays.
I was going to say maybe Leno.
See, but for me, I don't know what it is about Leno. I'm not, I know he's a good keeper, but I'm not 100% set on him because
really?
for some, he doesn't. He looks, like I said, he's a good keeper, but he just doesn't look solid at times.
Okay. I think the opposite. I think he's too good to be playing for Arsenal.
See, I think Arsenal's where he needs to be. Me.
Wow. I look at him and I look at that team and I think he's one of the only players in that team that should not be playing at such a low standard. He should be playing. I agree with you with Saka. I haven't seen him enough, but I know many people rate him. But from what I've personally seen, I think personally seen, I think Leno, I think you've just said that now, so this is going to make me seem crazy. But I think when Neuer retires, I could see him playing for Bayern Munich. To me, he's almost a younger version of Neuer, and I don't know whether that's me being crazy, but I honestly think he is. I don't think he's the best goalkeeper in the league, but I think he's probably top 4.
Well, he's played 29 games and he's conceded 34 goals.
But look at the defence he's got.
And only had 8 clean sheets.
But that Arsenal defence is the worst they've had in God knows how long.
Yeah.
And he saves them no end of time. I think he's way too good for that team. And I'm trying to think of someone. If you put Kepa, say, in that team, he would really struggle.
Oh yeah.
Leno's doing well with what is put in front of him, and I think if you put him into I know you say that you could say it about anyone, but if you put him into a better team with even a slightly better defense, he would look really, really good. It's because of that defense and the fact that they allow him to concede sloppy goals is why it tarnishes him a little bit. But I think he's way too good for Arsenal. I think he should be playing for, I think even, I don't know how old he is. How old is he?
20.
I think he's like 28, 29. See, that's what hurts him.
Yeah.
If he was 26, 27, I would say even someone like Leicester, if Kasper Schmeichel started to, drift off, he'd be someone there. Someone that I think he would have been, if Arsenal hadn't assigned him and they were still having the trouble with Kepa, I think Chelsea could have been in for him. He's too good to be playing for Arsenal, And I bet he regrets leaving Bayer Leverkusen because they're doing really well now.
I can see where you're coming from, but I don't think he's played the season.
But look at the 3 goalkeepers they have. They have him, Matty Ryan, and Runnison. Look how they can attract Matty Ryan. They were lucky to get because they got Leno before the major downfall. If Leno was at Bayer Leverkusen now, there's no way that they could attract him now. There's a reason why Matty Ryan signed for him, because that's the caliber of player they can sign.
Yeah. For me, I think it's got to be Saka. It's either Saka or Tierney for me, because when I see Tierney, I know he's a Celtic boy and he loves Celtic, but when he puts on that Arsenal shirt, he really cares about it, and you can see it when he plays. Yeah,
but that shouldn't be something that says something when you're saying that about one player. Everyone should be in that position.
I know.
But that
But
is just modern day football. I suppose they look at
yeah,
it as a as a job rather than living
yeah.
the badge, living the.
There are players who who do play for the badge. There are some that still do play for the badge.
Yeah.
I know they're more people that have been loyal, but like Aguero, Noble, those kind of people. They fight for the badge.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, it's got to be
I'll
Saka.
agree. I'll agree with Saka, but I think Leno has been really good this season.
Moving on to Villa.
Mhm.
I'm gonna throw out Emi Martinez.
Yeah.
Obviously, Jack Grealish.
Mhm.
Ollie Watkins.
Someone we forgot to say for Fulham is that Anguissa. Sorry,
See,
it just came into my head then.
yeah, I don't think
I think he's played really well this season, and I forgot to mention.
He has played really well, but I think for best player of the season, it still has to be Areola.
Yeah, but I think
Yeah.
I was so quick to say Areola without thinking of anyone else.
Yeah.
I think Anguissa's been up there. Sorry, Karen.
So going back to Villa. So you got I'm throwing out Emi Martinez, Ollie Watkins, obviously Jack Grealish. Forget you, but that was always going to be a one. Ezri Konsa and Matty Cash.
Yeah, I
And
would say out of those,
maybe even Mings.
I think Mings is overrated. First of all, I think because I don't know. There's something about him that looks so different and so unique. But I think when it comes down to it, he does struggle. He looks like he's big, strong, and fast, but I don't necessarily think he is. I think he's strong, he's powerful, but a lot of centre backs are. He seems to come across as like he's this fast defender, but I don't necessarily think he is. I think he doesn't have the IQ that a lot of defenders have. I think out of the two, Konsa has a much higher ceiling than Mings. Mings being, 26, 27? Ezri Konsa being, 22, 3?
Well, Mings is 28.
And Konsa's 23. Look at the
Yeah.
5 years. Within the next 5 years, Konsa's going to be doing much more than playing for Aston Villa. And by the time that Mings is 33, he's probably not even going to be at Villa anymore.
Yeah.
Mings. There's a reason why Mings is only now breaking into the England team, and I know Ezri Konsa hasn't yet, but there's still talks about him, being linked with, going to the Euros.
Well, he's in a good position to do that. He's been solid. I mean. He's been solid this season.
But I think when you look at those two centre backs, people are instantly drawn to Tyrone Mings because he's been called up to England. But if you look at their ages, they're not too far apart, and I think if you look at any team, you'd probably rather have Ezri Konsa in your team than you would Tyrone Mings because he's less of a liability.
Yeah. I was going to say to have the longevity.
And he's less of a liability in terms of rashness. I think when people talk about Man United, they talk about Eric Bailly as rash and, sort of he's not very disciplined. I think that's the exact same thing with Tyrone Mings. When you see him on the pitch, he causes a lot of fights. He's very physical. He gets yellow cards a lot and he does get the odd red. Whereas with Ezri Konsa, I don't think you can say that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Another one, like I said, the other one in defence would be Matty Cash because he's looked really good this season.
To be honest, I think the Aston Villa team as a whole have been pretty good. I think you could even put in a case for Matty Targett.
Yeah.
I think Matty Targett, since he's been released from Southampton and he's come and joined Aston Villa, he's looked like a Premier League player. A lot of these players, when they were in the Premier League a few years ago, they were unsure. A lot of these players were still there, weren't they?
Yeah.
They didn't look sure of themselves, whereas now they look proven quality. They belong in the Premier League.
Yeah,
I think the goalkeeper and the defence have been standouts, but going forward, you are looking at Ollie Watkins. You're looking at Bertrand Traore. I think has been quite solid.
Yeah.
And El Ghazi as well. El Ghazi recently has been pretty good.
Yeah, but for me, I think I know he was doing pretty well in the Championship, but for me, I think this season, considering what at Brentford, he was scoring goals. I think he was Championship top goal scorer. I might be wrong with that in the season.
I think he was.
But Ollie Watkins to come into that Aston Villa squad I know there's no real out and out striker. For him to come in and then be the front man, I think he's done pretty well.
Yeah, I'd agree that he is the player of the season. I'd agree.
Yeah, how old is he? Well, he got his first England game against San Marino.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's against San Marino, but there's still plenty of opportunities for him to get more England caps.
Definitely.
And with him being 25, he's still got a couple of years on some of the players that are still in it now.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on, we've got Everton.
Again, I think there's probably 3 players in here I would probably give it to.
James, Digne, and Allen. That's who I'd say. And Calvert-Lewin, obviously.
Okay. Well, I was gonna say Calvert. The only one of them was right with me. I was gonna say Digne, Calvert-Lewin, and Ben Godfrey.
Yeah, I forgot about Ben Godfrey.
Ben Godfrey has, since being at Norwich, he had that 50 million. I remember he had a 50 million pound price tag over his head, and being linked with the likes of Borussia Mönchengladbach, Bayer Leverkusen after Norwich got relegated.
Yeah.
He made the smart, sensible decision in joining a quality Premier League side, and he's fit right in. I think at the start of the season he looked a little bit shaky because I think they were unsure about where to play him, and he was getting played all over the defence. But now I think he's a solid centre back. He can play right back. He doesn't look out of position. He looks solid. And I think obviously with Dominic Calvert-Lewin, he's like with the Ollie Watkins thing. He's very much stepped up this season, and I know he's been in the Premier League. He's been with Everton before, but this season he's looked solid. There's a reason why he's practically the second choice to Harry Kane in the England team, and Luca Digne, solid. Just again, an all-round solid left back. What?
You were talking about Ben Godfrey, then you just sort of started talking about Calvert-Lewin without actually saying Calvert-Lewin.
Didn't I?
No.
Oh. It's because I'm looking at the picture, so I'm like my eyes are moving to each player.
Yeah, so Ben Godfrey, being at Norwich, played pretty well. He had, like you said, he had the price tag over his head. Like you said, made the sensible decision to stay in England, because if he'd have gone on the continent, he probably would have been on the bench, a squad player. I think
we saw it with obviously it worked out for Sancho and Reece Nelson last season, but you look at Reece Oxford. He went to Mönchengladbach, I think it was. It didn't really work out for him, and now he's at Augsburg. It doesn't always work out. I think he definitely made the sensible decision, because I think if he, like you said, if he went over there, he definitely would have been a squad player. Whereas at Everton, he is one of the first names on the team sheet.
And not only that, when you were, at Everton working with Carlo Ancelotti, you could say probably one of the best managers at the moment. Well, in the past few years, past decade. I think that was a good move. And then moving on to Calvert-Lewin, obviously, like you mentioned, second in command to Harry Kane right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's been constant. How many goals has he scored this season? 14
20.
goals this season.
Remember that. Fair enough.
So he has come up with a lot of. He's come up with a lot of goals at the right times as well.
Yeah.
Especially you saw him towards the start of the season. He was. I know he started to slow down a bit now, but he was on a roll.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, Digne would be the other one. Because he's not necessarily. To go with Digne, he's not necessarily playing left back anymore. He's sort of playing left mid, sort of left wing back as well. And I think Ancelotti has found the right positions for everyone now as well.
Yeah, exactly. That was the important thing at the start of the season. He seemed unsure. Players were sort of playing all over, like with Godfrey. But yeah, now I think there is more of a strict, solid first 11 that he's picking consistently.
Yeah. So for me, I know I said James, Allen, I said others, but I think Calvert-Lewin.
I'll go Ben Godfrey.
Okay. Next up is Liverpool.
Mm-hmm.
They've not had the best time.
No, definitely not.
I'm going to throw out Alisson. He's kept a minute.
Okay.
He's kept a minute occasionally when he has been
I
playing.
think I've probably only got really two names that I think can really be talked about.
Well, I'm going to throw Trent out there as well.
Okay.
And that's probably about it, I think.
Really?
Diogo Jota, maybe.
Okay, that's still not either of the two I'm thinking of.
But I just don't think the front three haven't really shown what they were.
That's because last season there was such high standard.
I know.
I think any season really you've got to put Mohamed Salah. Mohamed Salah is again still really carrying this team. He scored. Let me just check how many goals he scored this season. You've probably already got it up, but I'll try and find it.
18 in the Premier League.
18 goals in what was that? 29 games. That's stupid. I don't know if you can get up Firmino's and Mane's. So what's that? So he scored 18 this season.
Firmino scored 6. Mane has 7.
Well, there you go. He's got more than them combined.
He's doubled theirs pretty much, and more.
Oh right, I thought you meant combined.
No.
What? Yeah. He's more than doubled both of those.
Yeah.
So that just shows that he's like up front. He hasn't lowered his standard. It's the other two that have lowered his standard. Hence why he looks so bad. He looks bad in comparison because they go, "Oh, the front three haven't done it." No, Mohamed Salah has done it.
Yeah, true.
He's done it last season. He did it the season before. Last season, he scored 19 goals in the Premier League. He scored 18 goals this season, and he still got 5 more games less than he played last season.
Yeah.
So, last season, they were like, "Oh my God, he was amazing." Obviously, he had the 17-18 season where he scored 32. Then he went to 22, then 19, and now this season he's got 18. If he scores 2 more goals, it's not his worst season for Liverpool.
No, you're right. Now said that I made myself look like a mug, but he has done well. There's no doubt about it.
He's carried that team, and I think another player that's carried the team is Fabinho.
Because he's the versatility of him.
Exactly.
Being able to change. I completely forgot about that.
When he was at Monaco, you thought, "Oh, he's a good right back." He joined Liverpool and started playing as a midfielder. Now I think he's probably one of the best central defensive midfielders in the world. I think at one point Kante was it, and now I think Fabinho's rivaling that. I don't necessarily think he's better than Kante because I think he does a job different.
Yeah, I was going to say Fabinho's more of the one. He doesn't do a lot. He doesn't do all the running that Kante does.
No, exactly. But he's very noticeable and he's very influential. He's not that sort of player. And then even when he's a centre back, he can play centre back.
Yeah.
He did when everyone was out. He partnered Nat Phillips sometimes. He partnered with Jordan Henderson. I think Jordan Henderson struggled a little bit, but Fabinho didn't. I want to talk about as well Nathaniel Phillips.
Yes.
He's someone before this I'd never heard of. He'd been at Liverpool for a couple of years, never really played, been forced into the team. And I think although I know I've said before, he's not of Premier League standard, I don't think he should really be playing in the Premier League. It was just opportunism. He's dealt with it really well. And I think now, especially when they played Arsenal, and I think another game before that, I think he's dealt extremely well with it. And I went from saying he should be in the Championship. I think, no, he is a Premier League worthy player. And I wouldn't be surprised if they sell him next season to, I don't know, a Palace, maybe.
Yeah.
Someone like that. Wolves, maybe.
Or keep hold of him. But if you look at his stats, he's only first team football. He's only played 22, 33, 8, 38, 48, 49 games.
Mm-hmm.
He's only played 49 games of senior football.
Yeah.
He's He's still got plenty of games left in him.
Exactly.
I know he's 20. I know he's 24. You know, when you've got the likes of Ezra Konsa and things like that, who are around the same age. So it's only a matter of time before he starts to, instead of being Liverpool's backup option, because that's pretty much what he was, weren't he? He was the backup of the backups.
Yeah, exactly. It was that, like, if Matic or Fabinho, because they'd probably played for Fabinho at centre back before him.
Yeah.
If they got injured, they would have probably played him, and that's exactly what happened. Matip, Gomez, and Van Dijk got injured. He had to play, and he's played what this season, 12 games, maybe
15
games, and he's done well. I know Liverpool as a whole haven't been doing well, but I think it sort of shows that he is probably mid-table, maybe lower mid-table Premier League quality.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. But we have to whittle it down to the best player.
I'll say Salah just because he's still doing it consistently.
I'll say Fabinho, because I think without him, I think the Liverpool team would have
struggled.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But I think as well, going forward, if Salah wasn't there, take them 18 goals away, or half that.
Yeah.
That's nine goals they've missed out on this season. That's a lot. And then even if you half his, he's still doing better than the other two.
Yeah. Moving on to Tottenham.
I don't think it's a case of just saying Harry Kane.
I'm gonna say either Reguilon,
right, or
Højbjerg.
Okay, Højbjerg's up there for me. I was also going to say Ndombele.
Yes, and especially this season.
I think them two. Yeah, last season not so much, but this season he's definitely stepped up to it. Him and Højbjerg in midfield look like a dangerous partnership. Højbjerg does, it's weird because I look at Højbjerg and Ndombele and I see what they do, and it's very much Kante. Kante does what they both do. Ndombele does the attacking, running around. Højbjerg does the nasty stuff, and Kante does that both.
Yeah, Højbjerg does all the dirty stuff. He does all the cleaning up, and he does all the dirty jobs. Whereas Ndombele does all the pretty nice looking,
Exactly.
He does all the nice jobs.
Yeah, I think it is probably Kane. I think Reguilon's played well, but I don't really watch Tottenham. Like I said, I don't really watch them anymore. But I'd agree with you because I have seen him a little bit, and he does look, he's well adapted. But I think the midfield is probably, other than Harry Kane, is probably where Tottenham stand out this season, just because Ndombele has looked like a different player from last season, and Højbjerg, consistently is playing well.
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna say Højbjerg for player of the season.
I'll say Højbjerg as well. I mean, it is Harry Kane, but I'll say Højbjerg.
Yeah, well,
like the outside shout, the not obvious shout, I'll say Højbjerg as well.
Yeah. Chelsea. One person I'm going to say, I know he didn't have the best of games on Saturday, Thiago Silva.
Ooh, I don't know.
Because Thiago Silva, because he's come in and he's helped a lot with the experience and things like that. I know Apple's quite had experience, but this is Thiago Silva, who's been at the top of the game for a while.
Yeah, I think my shout is probably Mason Mount.
Yes, yeah.
I think again he's very much moulding into what Lampard wanted him to be, and I think going forward he could definitely not rival what Lampard did at Chelsea, but he definitely fits the mould for what Lampard did.
Yeah, he's an attacking midfielder, which is what Lampard was, and he's got plenty of goals in him.
Exactly, definitely.
Because he scored 6 goals this season, and he can play. In the midfield, attacking midfield, either wings. Mm-hmm. He's got a lot of versatility.
Yeah, exactly. I think there is a handful of others. Pulisic has, I think, done okay. Ben Chilwell has been one of the standout players, but I think in terms of the team, I'd probably say probably those 4: Chilwell, Silva, Mount, and Pulisic are probably up there.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to say Thiago Silva.
I'll say Mason Mount because I think he has been one of the standouts. I think Thiago Silva has been the standout in defence, but I think in terms of influence across the whole team, I think without Mason Mount, they lose a lot of what they have going forward.
Yeah,
I think they have equal effects on the team.
yeah. Next team is West Ham. Mr. Jesse Lingard. Thomas
I don't know if.
Soucek.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying Lingard.
Lingard, Soucek. Kufal again. He's done pretty well.
I can guarantee I know who else you're going to bring up.
Jared Bowen. He's done pretty well. He's done better than he has done.
He's done better than he has done.
Yeah, well,
I know.
I think he could be. I think he could do better.
Yeah.
I know he's played 30. He's played 30 games, 7 goals.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not too bad for a winger.
No, it's all right.
Declan Rice is another one, obviously, because at the moment I don't know whether Chelsea are going to come in for Declan Rice at any point, but right now I see Declan Rice as being Mr. West Ham once Noble's left.
I think the opportunity for him going to Chelsea was when Lampard was there. I think Tuchel now will have his eyes on probably foreign players. I think Declan Rice has been solid this season, but in terms of the rise, the impact, and everything that he's had, I think Thomas Soucek is the player. He's as well. He almost has that Kante vibe that you just can't hate him.
Yeah,
he comes across as so innocent and so lovable, like Kante.
Well, it was like when he was talking about the Christmas set schedule. He was like, "I'm not. The only thing I'm missing is my potato salad."
And I see people. I think people. I don't know if you've talked about it or I've heard someone else talk about it. That they're comparing him. They've compared him to Fellaini, and I completely disagree with that. I'd compare him to Kante. I think him and Kante do a very similar job. Just because they're up and down, up and down, up and down. They're everywhere on the pitch. They don't have a problem with the stamina. I think the only reason they compare him to Fellaini is, he's tall and slim. Yeah, that's it.
Well,
but,
I think the
only thing that Kante doesn't do is head the ball and score. Soucek gets on the score sheet a bit more.
That's because he doesn't. That's because Kante can't head the. Yeah,
he needs Giroud to lift him up.
Yeah, but whereas I think it was actually David Moyes who actually said. A lot of people he was saying that a lot of people were comparing him to Fellaini. He said he's not like Fellaini at all. Really, he's more actually like Cahill, Tim Cahill.
Oh yeah, I remember you saying
because he was a box to box midfielder who's getting on the end of crosses, end of getting loads of goals just by being there.
Yeah, and you think of Fellaini, and he didn't really do much defensively, to be honest.
No.
At United, he was a defensive midfielder towards the end of his career, but 9 times out of 10, you always saw him in the box.
Yeah.
When United broke up the field, he was always in the box because that was the only aerial threat they had. And then when you went back in defence, the defence would just deal with it, or Carrick, or someone like that. It wouldn't be Fellaini. So comparing it to him is ridiculous because Soucek, from both corners, from offensively and defensively, he's there.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Soucek is West Ham's player of the season. It's either him or Jesse Lingard for me.
I think if Jesse Lingard finishes it to the end of the season, he'll be second. But I think the impact that Soucek's had, I don't think he is another Declan Rice in terms of the impact he's had on the club. Declan Rice needed someone to help him out in that midfield because before that, who did they have? They had Mark Noble, who is good and solid and will offer you a 7 out of 10 performance most games. But he doesn't have the legs, obviously. He's aging. He needed a younger model. And how old Soucek? 25, 6? 26.
Yeah.
26. And Declan Rice is what, 22, 23?
Yeah.
So, I don't think Thomas Soucek will be there for much longer. I've said before, I think Borussia Dortmund would be a good fit for him. I think you're looking at an agent Alex Witsel. Julian Weigl left for Benfica. I think he would be a good shout. I know you've got Jude Bellingham, but he's not a defensive midfielder. You know, you've got there's another player there. I forget what his name is, but I think Souček would be a good fit for that.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Like I said, I think Souček has got West Ham's player of the season for me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, at the moment, obviously.
Yeah, if Lingard continues scoring and assisting, I think it could overshadow what Souček's doing. Not quite yet, because he's only been doing it for what, 2 months, 3 months?
Yeah,
not the whole season. Whereas Souček's still doing it now.
Yeah. Leicester. Recently, Iheanacho.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, Fofana.
Fofana has played well. I'd also chuck in James Justin.
Yeah.
James Justin's played really well.
Obviously, without his injury, obviously.
Mm-hmm. I think Castagna as well this season has adapted really well, because he went from being a right mid to a right back to a left back to a left wing back.
Yeah.
I think he's you know, a lot of this Leicester team have been playing very well. And Ndidi again has always been solid, but you're trying to go for the outside shouts. Obviously, Harvey Barnes has been quality.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of the impact he's had to the team, I think Fofana is up there. You know, when Soyuncu got injured, they brought in Fofana, and Fofana, you know, is fit like a glove. He suits the role, and if they don't, I'll be very surprised if they don't buy him.
I think they have, haven't they?
Have they? I thought he was loaned.
I think they've bought him. No, they bought him. They must have made it. They must have made it thingy. Permanent, because it says October. Yeah. So yeah, they must have made it permanent.
Oh, nice.
It must have been on loan. On loan and made it permanent.
Yeah.
I would agree with you. You know, there's quite a few, and then, you know, I think for me, Fofana, because like you said, when Soyuncu got injured, he came in, fit the squad, and now Soyuncu's back. It's him and Soyuncu, and they've worked well together.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I know Fofana is a good defender anyway, but it doesn't. It's certainly going to help him in the long run. You know, help with the Premier League experience of Johnny Evans, and you know, some of the other players that are there, Wes Morgan, Christian Fuchs. You know, some of the older Leicester players.
Mm-hmm.
To help him out. So for me, I think what Fofana has got to be Leicester's player of the season.
Agreed.
This one's going to be for you. This one, United.
I mean, you know, a lot of it. You know, Bruno, like with the Tottenham one, Bruno Fernandes is the obvious shout. But I'll try and go for some less obvious ones. You know, Luke Shaw has been quality this season.
Luke Shaw has come into his own this season.
Mm-hmm. This is the best I've ever seen. Scott McTominay, I think, has played fairly decent.
Wan-Bissaka's not been too bad.
Wan-Bissaka's done okay, but like last season, I think he played well too. Dean Henderson, you know, when he's played, he's looked good. Edinson Cavani has had some crucial goals.
Yeah.
Marcus Rashford's been playing well. I think there's a few, but I think the obvious shout is probably Bruno Fernandes, but second to him is Luke Shaw.
Yeah, I agree. If we weren't giving out obvious ones, like you know, like we didn't, it'd be Luke Shaw.
It would be Luke Shaw for me as well if it wasn't the obvious one.
And then last but not least, City.
I think the obvious one is probably Gundogan or Phil Foden.
Or Diaz or Stones.
I was going to say those three. Yeah, probably Diaz,
Gundogan. Or Cancelo.
Well, all five of them, obviously.
Because Cancelo, if you watch when City play, Cancelo doesn't play. He plays. He's when on the team, he's a left back, but he's a right back. He's a natural right back. But when he plays, he doesn't play left back. He plays centre mid. He plays central defensive mid. He plays left wing. He plays centre attacking mid. He plays everywhere. Well, I think he's such an influence for the team.
But I would say he's the underdog almost, because I think Phil Foden is the poster boy for them. Gundogan is doing what De Bruyne did last season, and Ruben Diaz is their main defender. I think João Cancelo didn't necessarily start off the best, but now he's coming into his element, and I think he's probably the underrated child. I think there's too many players at City that are too good not to give it to him. But personally, I think the impact that Gundogan's had on the team this season is very replicant of what De Bruyne has been doing recently.
Well, yeah, because obviously with De Bruyne being out for so long,
Someone else had to take the reign.
Yeah, and you know, I know he's been playing really well recently, but for quite a while he wasn't quite up to it after he came back from his injury.
No, definitely.
So, you know, I think De Bruyne has still played good. You know, 24 games, 5 goals, 11 assists.
Mm-hmm.
For him, it's probably not the best. He wants more.
Yeah.
But like you said, I think that, you know, Gundogan has come in and, you know, he's provided, well, 23 matches, 12 goals, 1 assist.
Yeah, I was gonna say technically De Bruyne's done better, but I think because of what Gundogan hasn't done at City and what he has done this season, I think you've sort of got to give it to him because it's expected of De Bruyne, whereas Gundogan, he has stepped up to the plate, especially when De Bruyne was injured. Yeah. So I would personally say it was him because he's the one I noticed the most this season when they're playing and they're like, who scores a lot?
I'm going to give it to John Stones, especially for this season. You know, coming back from his setbacks that he's had, to then force his way into the team alongside Ruben Diaz, and then, you know, it arguably has created the strongest defence in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's who I give it to. I give it to John Stones.
Fair enough. I'll give it to Gundogan.
And that's it. That's all 20 teams done. So Sheffield United, yours was McGoldrick. Mine was, I think we both said McGoldrick.
No, you said Billy Sharp.
Yes, I said Billy Sharp. That's it. West Brom, Sam Johnson.
Yep.
Fulham, Areola.
Mm-hmm.
Newcastle, Callum Wilson. Brighton,
I said Sanchez.
Sanchez. And I think I gave it to... I gave it to Sanchez. Trossard, yeah, sorry, Trossard. I gave it to Trossard. Burnley, Dwight McNeil and... Pope, yeah. Wolves was Pedro Neto.
Mm-hmm.
Southampton, Danny Ings.
Yep.
Crystal Palace, Guaita and Gary Cahill.
Mm-hmm.
Leeds, Patrick Bamford and...
I said Bamford. We both said Bamford.
Yeah, we both said Bamford, didn't we? Yeah, because I was going to throw out Rafinha.
Mm-hmm.
Arsenal, Saka.
Yep.
Villa, Watkins and... Who did you say?
Oh, who did I say? Konsa?
I think you said Ezri Konsa.
I think so.
We'll go with it anyway. Everton, Calvert-Lewin and Ben Godfrey.
Yeah.
Liverpool, Mohamed Salah and Fabinho.
Mm-hmm.
Tottenham, Højbjerg and... Did you say Dembele?
Dembele, yeah.
Chelsea, Thiago Silva and Mason Mount.
Mm-hmm.
West Ham, Thomas Souček.
Yeah.
Leicester, Fofana and... Who's the other one?
It was Fofana, wasn't it? We both said him.
Yeah, Fofana. United,
Fernandes and Luke Shaw.
Yeah. And then City, John Stones and Ilkay Gundogan. So there you have it. That's our 20, 20-ish players of the season for each team. Let us know what you think down in the comments. Who you would change, who you would have. And I think that even wraps up today's. That reason wraps up the episode.
Yep.
So don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave notifications on so you're notified of every video we post. Like the video, comment down below what you'd like to see on the channel. Comment down below what you'd like us to talk about next week. Comment any guests you'd like to get on the channel. We can try and get any guests on the channel. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and follow me on TikTok. And I think that's it. And I know I ask you every week, and I will continue to ask you every week. Got anything to add?
Nope.
That's okay then. We'll see you guys next week with another podcast. See you later. Bye.